Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, formaggio.
Cinco, seis. Siete, ocho, nueve. What's 10?
Dicks. Diaz, technically.
Well, oh,
my camera froze. I'm just resetting it. There you go.
okay. I was like, oh no. Welcome back
Welcome back
to the Lousy Show.
to the Lousy Show.
Dicks.
Dicks.
Oh man, oh man.
I wonder why we got demonetized.
In the first 10 seconds, you said dicks 300 times. What?
Are we starting a dicks counter on this one?
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay.
Better than the other one.
True. Yes.
No, we did twice.
Want to go over 3?
No. I'll scrap this whole fucking episode. I don't care.
Oh, thank you all for stopping in. Thank you all for who have subscribed prior. But if you have not subscribed yet, click on the subscribe button, like the video, tell YouTube to come bring more people over here. We've actually, I appreciate everybody who's been like watching the podcast lately. We've actually seen some great viewership, going up on this. So shout out to you all who stick around and have some fun with us on this. I mean, that's, the podcast is more of a like free form for us to talk about and do what the hell we want to do.
Yep.
A lot of fun. So again, thank you to everybody who has subscribed. If you have yet to do so, subscribe button's right there. Go ahead and click it. And after you subscribe, you should also go into our description because it's time for an ad read.
Sure is.
And in the description, you will find a link. Also, in the pinned comment, you will find a link because we are partnered with Into the AM. Proudly, I might add, partnered with Into the AM, have been for a very long time, and we greatly appreciate all they do for us, and we are certainly happy to continue promoting them as well on this channel. If you're unfamiliar with who they are or what they do, they are a fantastic clothing brand, but you can also go check that out yourself while listening to us yap over on this beautiful channel by doing what, Sam?
Oh, if you go to intotheam.com/lousy, like he said, it is in the description and in the pinned comment, you'll find a whole lot of awesomeness. They have t-shirts, they have hoodies, they have hats, they have pants, they have underwear. We've talked about it. If you haven't been here for that, we're not going to go over it again. Just go back and watch a few episodes. Underwear is real comfy. But yeah, they have a whole lot of things, and they're usually running some sort of awesome sale. And if they're not, for whatever reason, or even if they are, we have a discount code for you. And that discount code is if you put in the word lousy, Lousy, you get 10% off regardless, and then it'll be on top of whatever's there as well. So like, for example, they were just doing basic tees sale, where if you got like a pack of them, it was like up to 60% off, which is crazy. But then add 10% on top of that, you get an extra 10%. It's 70%. So go there, click it, get some good stuff. Come on back. Look good, feel good. All the stuff we normally say.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Again, link is in the pinned comment or in the description, intotheam.com/lousy. Go click it right now. Heck, you could actually search while we're sitting here talking, having a good time. You can listen to us while you're doing your shopping. So many awesome deals, so many awesome articles of clothing. Go check it out right now. Again, intotheam.com/lousy. And again, also shout out to Into the AM for helping us keep the lights on. We do appreciate it. Today's episode I'm actually really excited for because this kind of just came to me. And if you're new here, it's a pretty lousy show because Sam and I do this thing a lot where we sit in front of our computers and start recording and we go, what are we talking about?
Yep.
But last night I was watching a movie and an idea hit me. And Sam, after I presented said idea to him, he was like, oh yeah, absolutely. The movie I was watching was Inception. I have not watched that movie in a while. And if you know Inception, you know that, the movie itself, incredible. But the score of the movie, top
definitely
tier.
Up there. Yep.
Yeah. So today's episode is all about our favorite scores in movies. What movies we feel like the score, like, is there a movie in which the score, sold the movie entirely? Maybe some that didn't need it. Who knows? It depends on how the conversation goes. But what we request of you is in the comments. Let us know your favorite movie scores and why. We'd love to hear it in the comments. We'd love to read them. So definitely let us know. And if there's any that we say, and of course you can agree with us as well. Or if you have nothing else to say in the comments, drop an emoji because engagement, and it helps YouTube know to send us to more people. Yay. But I suppose we could just start with what I was watching last night. That is Inception.
Yep.
Yes. I remember the first time I saw Inception and my brain hurt.
Yeah. There wasn't ever really a movie like it. Like beyond the score, just like the concept of it. Never done, to my knowledge, at least.
Yeah.
And so that just by itself made it a top tier movie. Yeah. But then when you add that score and then a lot of the sound effects too, like that they use with it, it becomes this whole kind of experience. Like it's like being high without being high. Like, you know, like it's weird and it definitely fucks with you a bit. But then when you add in, and that's the beauty of a good score, because like, could you imagine that movie without?
No.
Exactly. So like there's scores that will turn a movie from a movie into an experience. And that's the sign of true brilliance to me. I mean, we're both musicians, so, you know, of course we're going to respect some good music regardless. But when it's like on that, you know, existential level,
upper echelon, if you
like,
will.
Like it just, it becomes this whole other experience to where like, at least I, and I'm sure you appreciate everything so much more.
Oh no, I agree entirely. And I think that, again, that's one of the things, like you said, about that movie entirely is without that score, is that movie still that movie? The answer is no. You know, like it's being a movie that it really hadn't been done in any capacity of itself prior, at least to our knowledge. If there's one that you can think of, let us know in the comments. I mean, knowing when it came out was 2010. So nothing had really been done like that at that time. Knowing the depth of the story, because Christopher Nolan's always been known for putting in top tier story work. Like I would say Christopher Nolan films are probably definitely up there in my, like, as far as just if you took a chunk of films and slapped them together, if I were to rank them, they're definitely my top three.
He'd be up there with like Tarantino, like, you know, any of the other
100%
greats, you know, so
100%. And that's something I would say is like, I respect Nolan on such a deep level because so one of my favorite films of all time, as you and I have talked about, is Interstellar.
Yeah.
The entire score of that movie carries the movie.
Yeah.
Like the musical notation, like the time signatures and every single millisecond of every single like piece of music that's in there, he specifically designated to fit how like time worked in the movie. For instance, like when they were on the planet, I can't remember the name of it, but the planet that was covered in water, and I think it was like for every hour they were on that planet was 7 years in real time or something like that. The timing of the music sped up, but in an odd time signature to match the timing of what was happening around them.
I think they did like a weird like 4/7 or something. I can't remember the exact measure count, but like it was actually, it was crazy.
let me look at time signature of Interstellar.
And then not to mention, you know, just like how accurate they got that black hole. And like this, so there's a lot of really good audio elements, but then there's really, really good visual elements to it as well. Like that whole planet of water was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and then there's him behind the bookshelf too, like in that kind of weird dimension.
It was okay. It was 7/8.
7/8. Okay.
7/8 time on that specific piece. But no, like that, like you said, that in of itself, like especially when he's behind the bookshelf and just like the way that score carried, and that there's few scores in movies. I feel like a lot of people have some that may stick in their head, but I want to be very specific when I say this. There's few scores in movies that are written for that movie, like a John Williams-esque song, like Star Wars, for instance. there's few scores in movies that when it plays, you can immediately pinpoint a moment in that movie or that movie entirely.
Yeah.
Where you're like, yes, Interstellar's one of them. Star Wars, Inception. Let's see what else. Oh, Dark Knight.
Yep.
Like the Batman series that Nolan did. I love how Nolan. I mean, you even mentioned Tarantino. You think of any scores that have been written for Tarantino movies, you can hear that and immediately pinpoint to a Tarantino movie. Like
yep.
I feel like that when you take that extra level, it not only adds to the experience of the movie, but it's what solidifies it as a piece of art in history.
Yeah.
Like your immediate experience is affected, but you don't experience the ramifications of that song or that musical, section until months, years later. And you hear it and you're like, oh shit. Like it almost teleports you back to the first time you saw the film.
Yeah. I think Inception isn't quite on the same level, at least to me. And of course, this will be subjective to everybody, but like Inception's still very, very, very good. Very good score. A lot of it's really good. But for me, it's when I hear really any of the music that was in Interstellar, I immediately I stop what I'm doing. Like, I don't care what it is, I'm listening to that.
Yeah.
And it not only makes me stop and listen, but then it gives me experiences of like, like where I was when I first saw Interstellar.
Yep.
It makes me I feel like it activates parts of my brain that were never activated before. Like I feel like it's the drug from Limitless in audio form, and Interstellar doesn't quite do that for me. Like that sound, like when the city's folding over, kind of,
You mean Inception?
Or that's what I meant. Yeah, Inception. When when the city's folding over, like that sound is iconic. But then like to name a few other movies that kind of scratch that same itch. I mean, John Williams' Duel of the Fates. Just I stop and listen to it every single time.
Absolutely.
Lord of the Rings, really any of them, like any of the songs from Lord of the Rings,
Yep.
are just they're all incredible, and I couldn't imagine. Well, especially Star Wars Episode 1, when Duel of the Fates really first gets introduced. Like, could you imagine? Like, Duel of Fates carries that movie, and if it wasn't there, Episode 1 gets shit on a lot. It would get shit on even harder if that song wasn't in there.
I agree. I would like to also say that Episode 1's actually in my top 3 of Star Wars films.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's very, very good. Jar Jar can be a little annoying at times for some people, but I think that's the only.
Darth Jar Jar.
Yeah, Darth Jar Jar would be dope. Weren't they going to do a what if with Darth Jar Jar?
Yeah, there was plans for that, but it got scrapped. I actually have Darth Jar Jar's minifig on my shelf over here.
Nice.
Yeah. But no, I agree with you, and I think, but that's also telltale, like we said before, about how a score can carry a movie. Because that song, like speaking of Episode 1, that song is only in the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Maybe a little longer.
Maybe 30.
Maybe 30. Yeah, because they cut in between that battle, the battle with the Gungans.
Yeah, you're right.
And then Padme in the palace.
But you take, but go even further. Take the main score. That song in and of itself, you hear that anywhere, boom, you know exactly what it is. Star Wars. Nerds are something like, huh?
Yeah.
What's happening? Like they're prepared. Like, so it's songs like that have generational experience. Because you got to think, for you and I, especially because we're both very, very, if you couldn't tell, we're Star Wars nerds. Not at all. But you think for us, right? Episodes 4, 5, and 6 came out long before you and I were even a twinkle amongst, anything, right?
Yeah.
We were not a thought in creation. But that song resonated for generations. For us, episodes 1, 2, 3 were our main staple. Yes, we grew up on 4, 5, 6, but 1, 2, 3 was like our generation's Star Wars staple, right?
Yeah.
Those songs resonate for generations. Like it's how much impact can that score have? And if it can grasp and hold on for a timeless, impact, that to me just that speaks far above and beyond the volumes of what the movie can do by itself. Like,
Yeah.
and that's not just to simply say because we're both musicians. That's to say, like, as even just standard watchers, cinema goers who want to go see a film, that is something that you will take with you.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I think a really good example of that, and like it's hard to not go back to Interstellar for a lot of these examples, but there's a can't remember her name. It's Anna something. She's the organist. Good God. Um, at some British theater. I can't remember which one it is. It's a big one, but there will be like people that come by, and like she knows the Interstellar theme because that was all mostly done on organ. If you didn't already know, the behind the scenes too of how they got that score, I'm literally getting goosebumps. But so she knows it, of course, because I feel like it's just a automatic if you're an organist at this point. But like just random people will come up to listen to her practice, and then she'll invite them in, like let them look at it and kind of twinkle around with it a little bit. And almost 9 times out of 10, like janitor, really famous person coming through, whoever is asking, "Hey, can you play the Interstellar theme?" And she's like, "Yeah, I got it." And so like, and just to have that experience, especially in a really large music hall like that, I'd love to hear it. Like as a live rendition. I think Hans Zimmer does like live performances of his scores. And so I'd love to go to one of those just to listen to all of it. Or
dude.
listen to like live like there's a lot of places now that'll have like live orchestra movie soundtracks. Like I just saw, like I didn't actually see it, but I saw a clip of one from Lord of the Rings, which oh my god, I would shit myself if I would go to that. But could you just imagine going to a Hans fucking Zimmer concert, dude? Like
that is absolutely on my bucket list.
Yeah,
like
100%.
I would say him and John Williams definitely are two that I want to see before I escape to the nether. It's just because, well, I mean, not to repeat the same thing, but like you and I grew up on that stuff.
Yeah.
You and I grew up in that age in being able to hear those things and experience those things. That, I mean, like just have the opportunity to experience that live. Fun fact, speaking on John Williams. So in middle school and high school, I played tenor saxophone. In middle school, actually my 8th grade year, we did Duel of the Fates.
Ooh.
Yeah. Wasn't nearly to their level, but just, it was like a nice little nugget of being able to do that. I think we did like the first section. We didn't do the whole song, but I remember we definitely did like because I can distinctly remember hearing like the flutes like.
Yeah, we did. We didn't do Duel of the Fates, but this was elementary school, so this was like right around when episode 1 came out. But we did like the main Star Wars theme. But I went to a very small elementary school, so there was like maybe 10 kids total, like, maybe. And we were not good, but it was still fun to try to learn it,
the depth was lacking.
Yeah. Oh, and then even on top of that, so I was in orchestra, right? So like I was learning violin. There was 3 of us in orchestra. It was 2 violins and 1 viola. There was no cello. There was no anything. But they had brought us in with the rest of the band, so the 7 kids, and to do Harry Potter.
Nice.
That's another transcendental experience, I guess you can say. But I remember they had me, for some reason they didn't want to do violins on that one. They wanted a more full band sound, which I was like, all right, whatever. So they had me on the glockenspiel. So I had to do the ding 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 ding, ding. And I could probably still do it if I was given a glockenspiel, but
somebody send him a glockenspiel right now.
PO box in the description. No, just kidding.
Oh, God.
But
no, that's Harry Potter's another prime example. Like I'm not, I mean, I'll fully say this, and I have no problem saying this, not to be offensive in any way, but like Harry Potter doesn't tickle my fancy. Never has. I respect anybody who it does. Like I get it. It's, you know, it's wizards. It's magic. You know, I get that in D&D, but you know, I no disrespect at all, but the music is definitely iconic. Like you hear it and you, same thing, you immediately know like, oh shit, wizardly shit's about to go down. You know, someone's pulling out a wand and then, you know, like, you know, it hits. And I mean, sure for Harry Potter fans, it's the same thing for you and I. Like it's that main theme that's our, you know, main fandom. It just tickles the spine perfectly.
Yeah.
Another one actually I was thinking of while you were talking, one that I'm surprised we didn't even think of to begin with. Sam, why is the rum gone?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Pirates of the fucking Caribbean, dude.
Pirates
I was
of the
like,
Caribbean is a bop.
I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely one. Like,
Yeah.
but you know, that's, I mean, that admittedly the later movies have gotten a little.
I'll give you another one.
Go ahead.
Jurassic Park. I still John Williams, but you know, like,
well, I mean,
yeah,
still. No, Jurassic Park is also certainly one that transcends. And I would even say like, I would say for those movies, because I love the original trilogy of Jurassic Park. I love the original trilogy of, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean. The later movies, that is where the music, like we said before, the music does a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Because as for us, you know, in the time in which we grew up, you know, with the Jurassic Park. We grew up with Pirates of the Caribbean. We remember those movies coming out. We remember those experiences. I mean, hell, to this day, I still binge watch the original trilogy of Pirates of the Caribbean because the story is just fantastic.
Yeah.
The scores did those movies wonders. Absolutely. But the later movies after the third one, the music's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
another perfect example is Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, well, no, because I don't want to get in like, I know this is about music. I don't want to get into the logistics of the movies. But I will say I actually enjoy the later Indiana Jones movies. I think that the writing was a little lackluster in some of them, but I don't think they were terrible. Admittedly, I have not seen the last one. I think it's like Dial of Destiny or some shit like that.
Something like that. I haven't seen that one either. I had kind of for the longest time didn't watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which was the fourth one.
That's one with Shia LaBeouf.
Probably. I've watched it since, but this was many years after it came out. And, you know, at the beginning, it was all right. To me, it was more fan servicey. And then it got weird with the aliens. You know, like it kind of went a little too far for me, but I still enjoyed the music behind it. So just to kind of carry the theme of music doing a lot more of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that, like, while Interstellar, it does a lot of the heavy lifting, like, there's no bad moments in those movies, you know, like Interstellar, Inception, you know.
I can agree with you on that. I think for me, like, especially if to speak on Crystal Skull specifically, I think for me, I enjoyed the movie because I felt like it was a bit of a continuity. It was because also Shia LaBeouf, I love Shia LaBeouf as an actor. I know dude's gone through some shit, but like, yeah, I grew up watching him in Even Stevens. Like, so being able to see him, you know, come up to Transformers and then his you know, next movies and such, seeing that as a stepping stone in his career, I was like, oh, sick. They're passing the torch off to him, right? The music is what captivated me to keep me interested at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
Going back to that. And I agree with you because I love the passing of the torch. I wish they had continued to do so. But let's all be honest here for a second. At some point in time, Aliens was going to be the plausible case for an Indiana Jones movie. Like, I don't want to say it wouldn't be. Like, we've seen some weird, sketchy shit. But what was cool was how the music tied into the ambiance of those final scenes. Like, yes, the Crystal Skull, weird. Like, all of a sudden, aliens are alive, the ship starts taking off. But knowing, like, especially using real world applications of like the location they were in, right?
Hmm.
I mean, you talk history with anybody, and at some point, someone's gonna be like, "Oh, aliens definitely helped build the pyramids. Oh, aliens definitely helped the Mayans." You know, it's such. But it's that level of like, what if that helped that movie with the music as well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's something that captivated me, is like when they use that as with the music alongside it to be able to really punch that home. That's what made me enjoy it.
Yeah, I guess I should clarify to say that, like, of course, aliens would have been a thing, but I feel like what really killed it for me was the visuals, which it was one of those movies that was way too over CGI'd to, yes.
I think the term you might be looking for is before its time. Because if we had CGI from today back then, I think it would have looked better.
I still don't think they would have gone, like, I wouldn't have wanted them to go as kind of crazy overboard with the like the ship taking off kind of thing, all the debris in the air, like just all, like, it was meant to be a grand spectacle. I totally get that, but that's to me where it kind of went away from Indiana Jones. And I guess maybe I just can't separate myself from like old school Indiana Jones, where it was a lot of practical effects. And so like sure, there was some, not computer generated, but like animation and stuff put into some of the older ones, but to me it lost the spirit of Indiana Jones, at least on the visual side, because of that.
No, I could see that.
So like, because the music, of course, phenomenal. Like, hard to fuck that up once you've already got a good base established with Indiana Jones. But the visuals just went a little too far for me. I should watch because I think there's 2 more after that, right? Or is it just 1?
I know Dial of Destiny is the last one.
Is the most recent one. Yeah, whatever.
I think that's it. I think it's just Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, I think I'll need to watch that one just to see. But
Indiana Jones. There we go. Movies. Yeah, so actually, wow, that's a gap. So it's Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out in 2008.
Yeah.
And then Dial of Destiny in 2023.
Jeez. Okay. Yeah.
That's a hell of a jump.
God.
But nothing, I mean, like,
going from old to a mummy.
Like, yeah. But I mean, again, that's also telltale of like the original trilogy being so staple. Like, you can go back and watch those. Those are timeless.
Yep.
Kalima.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I was actually thinking of a couple others here while we were talking about that, and I happened to hop in just to like kind of like see what other composers were doing, whatnot. And there's so many in here that I feel bad for even forgetting. But there's one that I know for certain we definitely should have said, and it's something that as a dad I should certainly remember this no matter what. The Lion King.
Yeah, a lot of Disney movies have good scores.
Mm-hmm.
Lion King especially, but there's some bangers and some bops within Disney.
I will say this though, and this is to not make this solely about just composers and whatnot, because like I think that you and I can definitely agree when it comes to composition. I would almost always side on a movie or a side on the side of movies who do their own composition for that movie.
Yeah.
Not taking from already created pieces and plugging it in as a soundtrack. However, there's one movie that sticks in the back of my head no matter what for how epic the soundtrack was. And the cast of this movie was top tier. Have you ever seen the movie Baby Driver?
Yeah. Mm.
Talk about a movie where like the music is built to drive the movie. Yeah. But they didn't do original composition. It's based on songs that are already present, and they utilize them in such a way to carry this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's top tier.
So I'd like to give a little nod, kind of on that same vein, but then they of course created their own music for it too. And it's not a composer, but it's a movie that is extremely musical, and it's not a musical, like it's music oriented,
Yeah.
and that's School of Fucking Rock.
Oh yes.
Like has some of the best fucking
Yes.
bangers, and both, ones that they're just learning to learn shit, and
Yeah.
then ones that they come up with on their own. And like, to me, that's a good example of a movie where of course the music has to carry, because it's
Yeah.
literally about music. So like, if
Mhm.
they had fucked that up, I feel like if they got anybody but Jack Black, it would have been a much worse movie,
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree entirely. Baby, we were making straight
Yep.
A's. We were stuck in the dumb days. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to go watch that movie now. God, that movie was
Mhm.
so good.
You're welcome.
And yes, yeah. All y'all go watch that right now. That's a top tier movie. Like, I know there's a lot of movies out that do their fair share of work, but I may be overstepping when I say this. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like a lot of Hollywood just gets lazy with their composition.
A
Like
lot of
whether
them
it's
do, yeah.
already listed music that they use for the soundtrack, or it's like shout out to James Gunn, for instance. James Gunn went the extra mile in Marvel and brought to us a group of comic book heroes who were typically on the B team,
Yeah.
and made them some of the most loved, most iconic characters in all of Marvel history, but also did so with a soundtrack that was astronomical.
Yeah.
Like, it, that is the level of in which, like, when it comes to cinema, I appreciate the film that much more when I can see they put that much work into it.
Yeah. Also, not to
Like,
mention the Avengers theme is another
yeah,
iconic score, like,
yes,
I
yep,
mean, just so they already had a good foundation. And then when you add James Gunn on, because James Gunn's like, all right, we can't really do like, John Williams esque, you know, Avengers theme song. You good?
I feel like I saw like my lights flash. Go ahead.
No, I mean, the ones behind you are twinkling a little bit, but like the squares. But so maybe it was
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Y'all
Um.
can't see him, but he
Yeah,
can.
I can. Yeah. So yeah, like I don't think you can really top the Avengers theme with something original. Like, I feel like you kind of have to go to an epic playlist, especially with Star Lord being straight out of the '80s. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree entirely. I'm surprised we didn't even think about the Avengers. That's nuts. Dude, oh my god, I remember when you and I went to go see that for the first
oh,
time. Oh, it
literally
was
goosebumps just from the thought of it. Like,
the just I want to relive that moment for a second. I remember you and I went with our long since exes, but it was the Thursday night midnight release of the film. I don't even know if they still do those this day. Maybe I'm just old and don't go, but I remember we went and we were like prime position right in the middle. Like, acoustics were perfect. And the moment that you and I saw the Avengers, the original six in that circle formation, and you hear the
mhm.
ba 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 da, like, I remember you and I were just like smacking each other, like, dude, this is awesome. Like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it because it was that was a core memory, dude. That
Oh
was
yeah.
a canon event in our lives right there. Like, oh my god, that is what I live for in movies, is if I can experience that.
Mhm.
Oh my god. I mean, well, and honestly, like, shout out to the Russo brothers for being able to do that again later on. I mean, the Avengers theme has always transcended to, like, they've continued the same foundation, but it's transcended to new, new mechanics within the music of it to transform it to whatever film it's in.
Yeah.
But Avengers Endgame, on your left, music starts to play.
I don't know if
I got
yeah.
goosebumps right now, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I just
like,
today bought the tickets for the new Captain America coming out on Valentine's Day.
oh,
So
yes. Yes.
very excited.
Yeah. I'm excited for that. But it's just like that's when it comes to music, that is what I live for in a film. Is I and I know you were on the same page with me on this. When we go to the movies, it can't just like yes, the story has to be good. Like the story has to be good, but then it's just a movie.
Yeah.
It's an experience when all of these things are in this cauldron and it's just swirling perfectly to make this beautiful concoction for us to ingest through our eyeballs and our ears. Like, I want my brain to experience euphoria through music, through visual, through that is what I want when I see films, and that's what I hope for when I see listen to these scores. Something that will stick with me as I leave the theater. Like, I'm going to remember that tune when I'm in my vehicle driving home.
I'd also like to give a shout out because, of course, a score can make a movie, but then what if the whole movie doesn't have a score? Can it be good? And there's one example where I can think of where it does, and it hinges on not having a score, and that is A Quiet Place. Like, the whole movie being relatively silent kind of made that movie, Like, normally I'm like, yes, it needs some music, but that one, I feel like if they had put a score over top of the silent parts, like, what the fuck is that going to do? Like, it really highlights the need that they needed to be really fucking quiet.
I agree. I think, and I'm gonna say this, I think that is the only exception.
I think that's probably the only one I can think of. Yeah. Like,
because that is the premise of the movie.
Yeah.
It hinges on because I mean, think about it. You see it in theaters or you watch it at home. You're not talking. You are stone cold quiet. Like, you have now inserted yourself into this film. You are matching their energy. Yeah. That's a good film.
Yep.
That is the only caveat I think to this, is because of how well who wrote that movie. That was
John Krasinski.
John Krasinski. Thank you. I was thinking Jim for some reason, but of course, The Office.
Jim from The Office. Yeah.
Yeah. But John Krasinski, even when he wrote that was his mentality, was like peak suspense. Like, we want you to feel what they are feeling as characters.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like, not to repeat, but that is like the premise of that movie. That is the only caveat to this. Any other film, I feel as though, needs something to be able to accent the feeling or as the flow of the movie goes.
Yeah.
Another one that actually adds to that because of the flow of the movie itself, Titanic.
Yeah.
Titanic's another one because, and I know we keep referencing the same composers, but it's still the same concept. Is like, with that movie, the film and the music match to flow. It's this flow state. It's just you are transported through each scene as the music goes. And that, in my opinion, like we said, is what really brings it back full for us. Is it's no longer just a film; it's an experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I could sit here and brainstorm movies all day long, but I think for my closing remarks, like, I don't want to sit here and like rag on movies for not having good scores. I do think, as we've mentioned already, like, there are certain movies that can certainly be better or certainly be good without a score. But it has to be written correctly. Yeah. However, with a good score, I think we can all agree it's just chef's kiss.
Yeah. And because of that, and for my closing remark, I ask a question to you and to our lousy listeners, and that is, because of such great music like this, and then even outside of movies, just great music overall, would you rather be blind or deaf? Because, like, of course, you don't want to be either one, but out of the two,
if I had to choose,
yeah. Because it's shit like this, and I don't know if I even have an answer for this right now, but it's because of shit like this that I'd rather be blind.
No, I I'm with you. I would love to hear what the Lousy listeners have to say in the comments. That's a hell of a question to ask, and certainly in the comments, definitely let us know your thoughts. If I had to choose between being deaf or blind, I would choose blind. And the reason is, and I'm going to paint a picture for you and for the listeners. You put headphones on. You're sitting down in your chair. You start playing an album that it's your feel good music, right? And then your brain starts processing what can only be described as you filming your own music video, whatever the visuals may look like.
Yeah.
Yes, visually, if I'm deaf and I still have my eyesight, I can put pictures together. But that doesn't come nearly as close as being able to hear that magical ambiance and letting my brain process it in such a way that will stick with me forever.
Yeah.
I think that because I have such a fond love, because you and I both have such a fond love of music and how much it means to us and how much it resonates with us, that would definitely be my choice. Because I would still, at the end of the day, be able to, hear my kids talk. I would still be able to hear the soundtrack of a movie. I can't watch it, but I can make my own movie in my head.
Yeah.
If the soundtrack is that good, absolutely.
I think I'd agree with that. I still don't know for certain, but like all the signs kind of point that way because like I prefer audiobooks over reading normal books. I prefer listening to music than looking at paintings. Visual stuff there's very beautiful things out there. And I can never deny that. And I would be very sad if I did lose one of the senses.
Same.
But if I had to choose, I think I'd rather be blind because of that.
I'll say this before we go. I liken it to the thought of, going back to when you and I were roommates and we would just sit down and noodle on our guitars.
Yeah.
Being able to experience that just through hearing, that in of itself, like you can really grasp on to going like, yeah, that's the route I'd go.
Yeah.
Cause I don't need to see my guitar to feel it out. I can sit here and experience this music through at least this sense.
Yeah.
So just my thought. Let us know in the comments though. That's a hell of a question. Good fucking question on that, Sam. That's fucking
proud of that one.
That was a good one. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments. Also, if there's any movies that we didn't touch on or any scores that you feel as though we missed, let us know in there as well. As always, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and we'll catch y'all on Thursday.
Bye.
Later.